Hello everyone, this is Miguel Borba with Made the Cut Golf Remastered Edition. In this video, I want to go over how the wind rules, the advanced rules if you want to use wind and weather in the game. We have Happy Gilmore again, considering a 300-yard carry drive at the famous 18th hole at Pebble Beach golf links. And let's look at the 300-yard shot. Would land around here. That may be one of his shot trajectories. And the way wind works is you could do a number of things. You can just decide on whatever wind you'd like to use, light wind or medium or heavy. And here are the rules. There are light winds whenever it's 1 to 7 miles per hour, moderate wind between 8 and 18 miles per hour, and heavy winds are 19 to 31 miles per hour. You could always decide whatever wind you want to play, and then this is the table that we'll go over to decide where the wind's coming from and how it affects the shots. But in today's video, I'm gonna also look at the weather app, the weather website that has actual winds, current winds, and historical winds for various locations. And let's go to that website now so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the current weather for the Monterey region where Pebble Beach is located, Pebble Beach Golf Course links. And you can see that the wind is west-southwest at 9 miles an hour. So let's look at the compass rose here. West-southwest at 9 miles an hour means it's coming from here and headed in this direction, across from the bottom left to the east-northeast side. So it's going from west-southwest at 9 miles an hour. Let's look at our rules. 9 miles an hour is moderate winds. It's just in the moderate wind category. So we're going to take a shot in moderate wind conditions. And again, it's coming from the west-southwest to the east-northeast. And what I do is I create a line. So let's go back to, we'll do his shot. We'll do a shot again in a second, but I create a line in that general direction. So it's, for example, from here, and if you look at the compass rose, it's more in that direction. So it's kind of like that. And if I hit enter and save it, that line stays there on the screen and indicates the direction of the wind from here going in that direction. So the wind is blowing in that direction. So now that I go back to taking a shot for Happy Gilmore of 300 yards, you can see that it's a crosswind would come from here, but this is more of it's basically a crosswind. So it's a crosswind situation on this shot. So let's see how that plays out. And back to the rules. So what happens is on a crosswind, you have, here I call it the side wind. So you have this side wind table. The first spray die that's going to give you your scatter right or left on your shot is impacted by these numbers. And on a side wind, or this crosswind that we're facing, there is no adjustment to the length of the shot, whether it's long or short. So there is no adjustment to the second die. So let's see how that plays out. Happy Gilmore is shooting a spray of 20. So he would have on his dice app his percentage, D100 minus 1, his 2 spray dice, also minus 1 on each at D20. And on his card, he's looking for a 48%. So let's see what happens. Again, the wind, he's just shooting for the center of the fairway on this shot and not considering what the wind's going to do to the flight of his ball. So we'll see what happens. So let's go to his dice, and he rolls. So he got a 72, which for the first time in my video is going to show what happens on a poor shot. So he took a poor tee shot. It's a 3, which means it's scattered to the left by 3 yards. But because it's a poor shot, you always take the D20 as the default number to begin with. So it's going to go beyond. It's 20 now to the left plus this 3. So on a good shot, it would have been only 3 yards left. But on a poor shot, it's 20, the spray value, plus the 3. So it's 23 yards to the left. So let's go back to his shot. He's at 300, so 323. So dangerously close to hitting it into the hazard of the ocean. And I'll mark that. Now we have to look at how the wind impacts that shot. So now we go to the wind rules. On the side moderate wind, it affects it by 1x, where x is the spray value. So that means since it's a 20 spray die, it's 20 yards that is going to push the ball to the right. So if he goes back to his shot at 320, 324, 323, sorry, 20 yards pushing it back to the right brings them all the way back to 343 right there, and actually is looking great, right? So the wind's blowing from left to right. He actually hit a poor shot well left, but the wind pushed the ball back towards the center of the fairway. And now we look at the other die to see that he got an 11, which is a shorter than normal drive. And again, on a side wind, there is no effect on that die. And a poor shot or good shot does not affect this number. It only affects the scatter. So it's only 11 yards short. And then it's going to roll 30 yards. So you can go back 11 and then forward 30, which is what I always do just in case you're running into different surfaces. So 343 becomes 354, back on the same parallel to the shot line. And now we go 30 yards forward, which goes up to 384. So Happy Gilmore, without making any adjustments to the wind, hit a perfect shot and landed in the middle of the fairway. That's an example of how to deal with a crosswind, side wind. And had I been playing this hole as Happy Gilmore, I would have definitely considered aiming a little bit farther left on the fairway, even though it's dangerously close. Or maybe I would have taken the center just to take the hazard out of it. And knowing that there's going to be a 20-yard push to the right, I would be okay with landing in the rough out here, and be dangerously close to the cart path and maybe potentially out of bounds. But that's how the side wind works. So let's pretend that the wind was coming right in our face now. So now we're shooting into a headwind. Let's see how that shot plays out. So let's cancel this line. Let's ignore this path, and we're going to take a shot. Same location, 300 yards, but this time into a headwind. And let's see how that shot plays out. So his rolls, same rolls. So he hit a good shot, right 4 yards. So from 300 to 304. So it was a good shot. And now we're going to see what the headwind, how the headwind affects the shot. And then on the headwinds, there is no effect on the scatter right or left, but it does impact the distance that the ball carries. So it does only scatter 4 yards right. And now let's look at his other die. It's a short 15 yards. So we're going to go back 15 yards. So from 304 to 319. And then the wind rules say that we go back a further 1x, which is minus the 20. So another 20 yards short because it's into the wind. So now we're at 319 all the way to 339. And that's how much the wind impacted the shot. But it was a good shot. And now he's going to roll still 30 yards forward to 369. And that's where his ball ultimately ends up. So again, Happy hit a great shot into the wind and landed at that location. The opposite takes effect when it's a tailwind. Nothing to do with the scatter, but it does affect, it does, if he was hitting with a tailwind, it would be 20 yards more on his carry before rolling. So that's how the shots work. Now, you can play with gusty winds, and that means it adds another element to this game because you only roll this six-sided die after executing the shot. So you may be planning for a wind that's crossing, or a tailwind, or a wind in your face, headwind, and you may plan your shot to deal with that wind, and then all of a sudden the wind is weaker or stronger than you expected. It could also have no change. So let's say you have a light wind and it becomes weaker, that light wind goes to zero. It's a no wind situation. So instead of having an effect on your ball, it doesn't have an effect on your ball. Or you may have a moderate wind coming in and you roll 6, and instead of the moderate headwind being 20 yards of pushback, it pushes back 40 yards into, so you hit into a strong gust, and the ball didn't carry quite as far as you expected. So that's how the wind rules work. I hope this made sense, and we'll be putting out some more content in the future. Thank you very much for watching.